Hello, everyone, and welcome to my weekly AMA, Ask Me Anything. It is the Mailbag. You can find it both on Twitter and listen to it live on Spaces. You can also watch it right here on the Arrowhead Addict podcast. And hopefully you are here and you are enjoying yourself here on this Monday afternoon. Look, there's a lot to get to. Like always, I will just lead in here quickly. If you're watching on Arrowhead Addict, if you're watching on the YouTube page, first of all, please subscribe and give it a like. Also, just ask your question right in the chat. I will get to it. If you're listening on Twitter, just respond to the tweet with your question, and I will get there. I will go back and forth. If you've been part of this, you already know how this works. Otherwise, there's a quick little lesson. All right, so quick thoughts. Week 7, we now are to a point where I think you're going to see teams start making trades and start making them in mass. It's not just going to be the Christian McCaffrey one-off deal. I think you're going to see some more trades here over the next few days. The deadline is November 1st. Look, if you are a 2-win team or less, you might as well start selling right now. There's no reason to wait. If you are a team that has at least 4 wins, you probably feel like it's time to buy. And if you're a team that has 3 wins, you have a decision to make. Obviously, there's a lot of teams that are mediocre this year, and so it'll be interesting to see which ones sell and which ones buy that are right around that 500 mark. Of course, look, right now, I think if you're the Bills, the Eagles, the Chiefs, you are in buy mode. The question is, how big do you want to buy? For Kansas City, I think you want to buy, but I don't think you want to buy overly aggressively. Look, I know there's a lot of Brian Burns talk out there. I've had a million questions about what would the Chiefs give up for him? What do you think they should give up? I would say that if I were the Chiefs, I would not be trading top tier draft capital, not because Burns isn't a really good player, but because that goes against everything you've been building towards. I think he's worth maybe a first or third, something like that. And if you're the Chiefs, I think that's probably going to be close to what you'd have to give up. I do not think in a million years he's getting 2 firsts brought back. There's no way. So that's one trade. If you wanted to look at it, I think that's about what it would cost you. Number 2, I think the Chiefs ought to go after Robert Quinn. He has not been great this year. He only has 1 sack. However, he had 18 last year. I think he would be a cheap piece to pick up, probably a day 3 pick. And if I'm the Chiefs, I'm willing to make that move, especially if they can maybe you give a little bit of a better pick and the Bears eat some of the cap. I think that's the smart move. So that's another one. And then the last one is not so much a trade that I think will happen or anything like that, but it's a trade that I would at least explore if I was Kansas City. I'd call Washington about Deron Payne. He's got 1 year left on his deal. He's a good player. If I'm the Chiefs, I'm making that phone call, because he's a versatile piece up front, and Washington is 3-4, but going nowhere fast. That team is not going to make the playoffs because they're not getting out of the basement in the NFC East. I'd make that phone call. I don't know if Washington would make the move. I would offer a mid-round pick. I'd probably offer a day 2 pick, see if you could pry him away. But those are 3 trades I would think about making. And then, of course, I would go after Odell Beckham. He costs you nothing but cap space. Fine. That's fine. No worries there. All right. As you guys always know, if you have any questions, go ahead and fire away. I will do everything I can to get to every single one of them. Start on the video side, then I'll go to Twitter and we'll toggle back and forth. Jeremy's asking, do you think with so many teams with similar records still believing they're in the race, it could stifle the trade market leading up to the deadline? Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. I think there's some of that, but I also think if you're a team that feels you can win, I think you are more inclined to go for it because you're looking around the league and thinking, who am I competing with? These teams aren't good, right? So if you believe you have any kind of a shot, if you're the Niners, we already saw make a big move. If you're Dallas, you're Philly, you're the Vikings, perhaps. If you're Kansas City, if you're Buffalo, maybe you're Cincinnati, you're Baltimore. I think you're inclined to go aggressively after a player that can help you. Alex is asking, do you think Mahomes is the front runner for MVP? I think Josh Allen's the front runner. Right now, Mahomes is the better numbers because of the bye. Obviously, that'll even out after this week. I think they are 1 and 2 right now. I do. Hurts is excellent, but Hurts is not the player those 2 guys are. I think those 2 are 1 and 2. Allen beat him. Allen has the better record. Allen will probably have more passing yards after they play the Packers. I think Allen's 1, but I think Mahomes is right behind him. All right, let's see. Chiefs in the clutch. Verderame, how are you today? I'm fine. A little tired, but I'm good. Happy to be here. My question is, what are your thoughts on Juju this season? I think Juju's been excellent. He is on pace for 1,200 yards. He's averaging 2.5 yards per target more than Tyreek Hill had last year. He's giving you everything you could possibly want. The bigger thing right now, if I'm the Chiefs, I'm trying to sign him to an extension. He's been excellent on short and intermediate throws. He gets a lot of yards after the catch. He's physical. I think he's the kind of guy you want in your room. I love what he's brought for them. I really do. I said before the season started on the Arrowhead Addict podcast, and on Sack in the Box for that matter, I thought he would have over 1,100 yards. Well, he's on pace for it. He is having a great year. I think he's clearly become their number one receiver. Hard to be upset with what he's done this season. All right. Kyle says the Chiefs about to go on a run under Mahomes. The Chiefs are 28-4 in the months of November and December. Last loss in either month was 2019 against the Titans. They have been ungodly down the stretch. And you're right. They lost to the Bengals last year, but that game was in January. I honestly, you look at the Chiefs schedule, and I put a new video up, by the way, if anybody wants to check it out. I put it up this morning where I predicted the last 10 games of their schedule. I think the Chiefs are going to go on a pretty significant tear here. They are going to be favored in every game they play the rest of the season, with the possible exception of Cincinnati on the road. And I think even that game, they're probably like a 1-point favorite. They play a lot of games down the stretch. They should not only win, they should win going away. They're in great position. 88 Flexion says the chances we extend Chris Jones now to open up even more cap space. He's got a couple years left in his deal. I don't know that they would do that right now. But Chris Jones has been fantastic. And I think if you're the Chiefs, you're very happy with the contract. Chris Jones is playing at a defensive player of the year level right now. He really is. So if you're Kansas City, I don't know that you'd extend him right now because you have a couple of years left in the deal, but he's been excellent. I don't know what else you could possibly ask for out of him this season. Let's see. KL368. It seems we're getting destroyed in base package running past. We just bring Sheldon up and stay out of base. Look, teams are going to put the Chiefs in more and more base because they can't stop the run out of it. The Niners, I was shocked the Niners stopped running the ball as much as they did yesterday. The Niners should have never thrown. Honestly, if I was Shanahan, I literally wouldn't have thrown the ball in the first quarter of the game. The Chiefs couldn't stop him at all. And the Niners just up inside and start throwing it. Shanahan did that in the Super Bowl, and it cost him the Super Bowl twice, by the way, as the OC of the Falcons and the Super Bowl with the Niners. I was shocked. I was shocked that they decided to do that. I don't understand it. But yeah, look, here's the good news for the Chiefs. Like, the Bengals aren't going to put you in base. They're not going to do that in the playoffs. They're not that team. The Bills have shown they'll do it occasionally, but the Bills don't want to live out of that. They want to throw the football. The Titans can put you in base. The Titans can do it. The Ravens can certainly do it with Ricard. The Chiefs have to get better. They got to make an adjustment. That doesn't have to be their best defensive personnel package, but it's got to at least be competent. Right now, it's not competent. All right. Mac Wake says, regardless of possible acquisitions, what are the chances we see a Jones or Juju extension in season? I imagine pretty low. I don't think Jones is getting done in season unless the Chiefs can just get some great deal. Juju, I think if the Chiefs could, they would consider it. Now, look, it's hard. Like, there's always, if you're a player, there's that push-pull of do you do it now? Do you wait? Because if you wait, there's a chance of getting hurt. But if he goes out as 1,200 yards, he's going to be in line for a pretty nice contract. But I got to tell you, I think it's really just a good fit going forward for both sides. If you're Juju, you played all those years in Pittsburgh with no quarterback. Now you've got Mahomes. You have what seems to be a great relationship. I think if you're the Chiefs and he's in his mid-20s, like, why wouldn't you sign him? So I think I would be surprised if that didn't work out on some level. It just makes too much sense for both of them. It really does. But I would tend to think it would happen after the season. Another question, same deal. Would you sign Juju an extension now with the offseason? I'd talk to him, but I would lean toward thinking it would be after the season. Looking back, asked Chance, was the Bucs win not near as impressive as we thought, or did the Chiefs just break the Bucs? I mean, look, right now the Bucs are a tire fire, but I would also say at the time the Bucs had the best defense in the NFL, and the Chiefs absolutely lit them up. So it's still to me an impressive when they went on the road as an underdog in that game, and they killed them. Now, is it as impressive as it was a month ago? No, because the Buccaneers have been hideous. But I still think it's an impressive one. When you go out there and you play the way you did in that game, I mean, you beat somebody like that, it's impressive. And they beat a team that had beaten them before. Let's see. Adam has, what's the best sports memorabilia that I have? Oh my God. I that's my kind of passion in life is that and old baseball cards. I can pick a lot of. I have an autographed picture from Mickey Mantle. I have a Lawrence Taylor signed helmet, like a full size helmet, old Giants helmet. This is Steel Curtain. I have a signed helmet from the 3 linebackers. So probably one of those. But there's I signed a picture of Willie Mays, Jim Brown, you name it. Been fortunate enough to collect some of that stuff over the years. Okay. Let's see. Let me keep rolling here. Would you go after David Montgomery to use for the playoffs? Asks Riverman. No, I think they're good at back, man. I think they're good. Like they need to figure out how to use the backs they have. I'll leave it at that. Bot says free virtual girls chat. That could be interesting. I'll leave that up to you people. All right, let's see. SA Flip 969. In your opinion, what would you grade Coach Reed and Coach Spags so far this season? And what are thoughts about having Pacheco being moved to RB1? I think he should be the starting running back. That doesn't mean I would bench Clyde. I wouldn't. I'd give Pacheco a little bit more run. I'd probably give Spags a B to a B minus. It's a lot of moving parts. It's a lot of kids. If had injuries, if had suspension, I'd probably give him a B. Reed, I'd probably give like a B minus. I would have said a C plus before the Niners game, but that was the best game he's coached all year. I think Andy Reid is the best coach in football Monday through Saturday. Scheming, creating matchups, designing plays. Sunday, he can be an A plus and he can be a D. You just never know what you're getting. But I thought, last game yesterday against the Niners, that's an A plus. And by that I mean on Sundays like time management and personnel usage and managing the game. He has games where he is excellent at it, and he has other games where you don't know what the hell is going on. So I would say a B minus. By his standards, I should add. By his standards. I mean, by a lot of coaches' standards, I'd give him an A. By his standards, a B minus. Okay, Red is asking, did the 49ers focus so much on getting CMC ready that they forgot the game plan for everything else? Our pass rush seemed to be non-existent all season. Yes, they showed up. No, I just think the Niners aren't built to play the way they had to beat the Chiefs yesterday. When the Chiefs are out there scoring touchdown after touchdown after touchdown, like the Niners then had to abandon the run a little bit and throw the ball. Now, I thought they got away from the run too early, but the Chiefs forced them to play a game they don't want to play. Normally, the Niners don't have to play like that because they can run the hell out of the football. Look, guys, I say this all the time at the Chiefs, but it applies to other teams too. When you can run the ball and you have an effective ground game, it helps your offensive line immensely. It makes it much, much harder to just tee off on the quarterback. Well, guess what? When did most of those sacks come for the Chiefs? Third down, obvious passing downs, and later in the game when they had to throw the ball. That's it. The Chiefs weren't getting any pressure on them early, right? Why? Because they ran the ball well. Okay. Hear me out. Dante Jackson and Cedric Wilson. Clips, I hear you. They're good players. I don't know that either one of them is going to be coming to Kansas City, although Dante Jackson's an interesting name. Fire Fusion. Isn't Juju younger than Hill? Yes, he is. I believe Juju's 25, maybe just turned 26, but Hill's 28. So, yes. Paul DeSantis. Hey, Paul. Was yesterday one of the more impressive wins in the regular season for them? Juiced up Niners, and they just blew the doors off in the second half. Yeah, I think so, because I think the Niners are a top 5 to 8 team in the league, and I think they will be certainly a top 5 team by the end of the season once they incorporate everybody. Yeah, that's a team that could absolutely be in the Super Bowl. And Kansas City destroyed San Francisco. I mean, that game, that wasn't even one of those games where you walked away and said, yeah, the Chiefs caught some big breaks. I mean, the Chiefs just killed them. Third down, red zone, all of it. Like, just ran them over with the lines, did a great job. I don't think you could ask for any more than the way they played. Okay. Alan's asking, let's see. Looking forward with 12 picks next year, are you in favor of trading up as far as possible and getting a top 10 to 15 pick for a day one impact player? maybe only getting 5 to 6 total points. I wouldn't be okay with 5 to 6. I'd be okay with 7 to 8. So yeah, look, I think whenever you have that kind of surplus in picks and you're as talented as the Chiefs, you should absolutely trade up because you're not going to have all those guys in the roster. If you're the Chiefs, and they did it last year, they went up, they traded for Trent McDuffie, they moved up. I would absolutely do that. I would absolutely do that. Yes. But of course, it also depends too on the board and the way things fall. But my overarching point is, would I be aggressive with those picks? Yes, I would be aggressive with those picks. Stacy, my guy, how you doing, Reach? He says, do you think there are any players the Chiefs might trade away? Might there be a market for a Rojo with Breece Hall going down for the year? They haven't even made him active. So I don't know that any team would really bite and give the Chiefs anything for all of it. Maybe you get like a conditional 7th, maybe. Other than him, I don't think so. Who's to spare a part, right? I don't think they're going to trade any of these receivers away. I don't think they're going to trade any of these corners away. I think Rojo would be the obvious guy, but I think that'd be it. I don't think the Chiefs are in the business right now giving away any of their meaningful depth. They just can't. They're trying to win a Super Bowl. Okay. Alan says Alex rather. If Tyreek still has his speed after his contract is up in Miami, would you like him to come back to KC? Do you think it would ever happen? I think he burned a lot of bridges on the way out of town. Now listen, talent matters and all that, but I just wonder if he didn't kind of torch those bridges with some accelerant on the way out of there. I'd be kind of surprised if he's back in Kansas City. Maybe it's like a one-day retirement thing one day, but I think there's a lot of repairing of bridges for him to do there. Okay. Luttrell asks if there are any safeties out there that could be an upgrade from Thornhill. Definitely not their biggest need, but something that could be big in the playoffs. Look, Thornhill is a frustrating player at times because he's really talented as a ranging free safety. Had the pick yesterday late in the game, but he's not a good tackler. And he's not a guy you want to put in a lot of one-on-one and coverage spots. So I don't think they would do. I think they would just play more Cook. And I got to be fair. I was really critical of Thornhill right after the Bills game. I said I wanted to watch the tape, and I never circled back to that, and I should have. He actually was not nearly as bad as I thought he was watching the game live. And that's why, I always try not to, and I did something I try not to do, is criticize guys before I watch the tape of games, unless it's really obvious. He actually was not as bad as I thought he was in that game, but he's not a good tackler. And that is something that's been a problem for him. It's true of a lot of free safeties, but it's also true of him. All right, let's keep rolling. Let's see. What do you make of the situation in Indianapolis? Jim Irsay is supposedly very involved now, and it just sounds like a huge mess. I think we might be getting to the point where people get fired. You're starting Sam Ehlinger now over Matt Ryan, who's signed next year for $35 million. Like, what are we doing? I have nothing at all personal against Chris Ballard. I don't know Chris Ballard beyond just, being impressed with him and whatnot at the combine. Can Chris Ballard ever get the quarterback right? Ever? Like, at some point, is that not a fireable offense? Seems like it. But I think they are circling the drain in Indianapolis. Paul says, I know you mentioned Quinn, but what about Cam Jordan? Not sure of cost in terms of cap hits. Look, Cam Jordan is great. And I think anybody would love to have Cam Jordan. Certainly anybody who's ever watched the Saints would love to have Cam Jordan. The Saints are a ridiculously comically over the cap team next year. They're like $56 million over. They're going to have to restructure their way out of cap hell again and put themselves into it further. He's signed through the 2023 season. Here's the problem for the Chiefs, man. He's making $26 million, and he's 33 years old. You're not touching that contract. All right, let's see. With the Colts reeling and not benching Matt Ryan, Richie's asking us, by the way. Thanks, Richie. Do you think Yannick Ngakoue is an option for a trade? That's not a bad call. That's not a bad call. I like that call. I'd kick tires. There because Ngakoue's contract, I believe, is up after this year. I'm looking it up right now for you guys. I believe Ngakoue's up after this season. So he's making $13 million this year, but it'd be prorated. So you'd be paying him like $6.5 million. Yeah, he's up after. Yeah, I'd make that phone call. I like that. That's a good call. That's a good call by you, Richie. Yeah, especially after today's news. Tom says, I think we'll lose 2 more games down the stretch and finish 13-4. I think I'm with you there, Tom. I think that's about where I am at. I could see them even doing better. I do. Think Hayward and Pittsburgh would be available. Jeff, I don't. He's just such a pillar there. I just can't see them trading him. Justin asks, why start Pacheco and then give him the fewest snaps of all the running backs? His vision seems much better than CEH, who constantly runs into piles. Ask Andy. I couldn't tell you. I think they should play Pacheco more, but they don't. I think they just trust CEH. Bill Bond, has Hardman earned the contract? No. I think he's in the conversation for a contract, but I don't think he's in a place where you'd be like, oh, you've got to pay him, I don't feel that way. Let's see. Okay, why do people keep saying the Niners are the number 1 defense? I thought it was Buffalo. Because some people go off yards and some people go off of points. So I think the Niners are number 1 in yards, which, by the way, is the official thing to go off of. It's yards, not points. Elijah asks, growing up in New York, how did you become a Kansas City Chiefs fan? Elijah, my father, even though he grew up in Jersey, the first game he ever watched was Super Bowl IV. He picked the Chiefs to win, and all of his buddies were picking the Vikings. The Chiefs, of course, won. He stuck with them. I was born 20 years later. I inherited it. I didn't have a choice. So I became a Chiefs fan because of my dad. That is as simple as it gets. Mac is asking, is Edge a clear target? For me, a Quinn and Sue would be perfect. Yeah, Quinn to me is the guy. Sue's interesting as a free agent, but Quinn to me is the guy. And I wouldn't mind that, by the way, with Sue. So let's see. What's up with Sky? I mean, I think they're to a point where they just they trust the other guys right now more. And he's not helping himself with the mistakes he's made, dropping these punts. Like, it's not helping you get on the field. Even though that's a special teams thing, it's not helping on offense either. It's an issue. I think he's going to be a very good player for them at some point, but right now it is an issue. Okay. Let's keep rolling. There are a lot of questions today, guys. So I'm trying to catch up and doing the best I can. I apologize if you've been waiting. Which rookie have you most been impressed with this season? I mean, I'm assuming we're talking about on the Chiefs. Watson by a mile. I mean, Jalen Watson's been awesome. If we're talking about the whole league, I'd have to think about that. Yeah, if we're talking about the league, I'd have to think. A lot of the edge guys have been really good. A lot of the edge guys have been really good. The tackles in Seattle have been really good. There's a lot to choose from. But for the Chiefs, Jalen Watson. No doubt. Okay. Is Jones playing some DE again? An underrated story. I just think Joshua, they're putting him out there here and there. But I like that they're moving him around. I like that they're rotating him. It's a smart thing to do. And it's worked. He's gotten pressure off of it. All right. SA Flip asks, should we re-sign Hardman and MVS for next season? Well, MVS is signed for 3 years, so you're good there. And how do you feel about Karlaftis only tallying up a half sack so far? Do you think he'll get a sack this season or next year? Yeah, I think he'll get a sack this season. Yes. He reminds me of Justin Houston when Justin Houston, his rookie year, didn't have a sack for like 12 games. And he just kept coming within a whisker, and he just couldn't get there. And then the last 4 games, he had like 5 sacks. I think Karlaftis is going to be fine. I really do. All right, let's see. Did Niang have any setbacks? No. It's just a serious injury, and it's going to take a while. But my expectation is he'll be back at some point here, maybe around Thanksgiving. That's just a little bit of an open-ended guess. I think around Thanksgiving is a fair commentary. Will the Broncos ride this out? Let's ride. Or a full-blown tear it down and start over. They don't have a choice. Got to ride out. Wilson signed for 7 years. What the hell else are they going to do? I think they should trade some guys off and try to get some picks back, but they're screwed. They have no choice. They have no choice but to ride this out and pray. Tom Hood, thoughts on Sky Moore fielding punts? I think it should be McCall Hardman. They continue to say it's going to be Sky Moore. Who do you think will benefit the most from the bye in terms of healing? Anybody who's got a bump or a bruise right now. Probably McDuffie, give him 2 more weeks. It's a pretty serious hamstring injury for him. Michael says, did you get a chance to watch the tape on Jody and see him getting wide open? Yeah, there have been some times. I wonder with that how often, where is he in the progression? I think it's easy, and everybody does this. Like, we watch the film, go, guy's open, he's open. Yeah, but he might have been the 4th guy in the progression. So yes, I know what you're talking about, Michael, but I also wonder, like Jody Fortson. Listen, I like Jody Fortson, but he's just never going to be like the number one option on most plays. That's just the way it is. But I like that they got him more involved in this past game. Okay. Seems the Chiefs, Shane Falco from the replacements. Seems the Chiefs offense comes more sharp folks on the road this year. Can the offense get to relax at home and maybe they'd be better off a road warrior playoff mentality? I think that's a little bit of just happenstance. I mean, the Chiefs have had playoff games that scored 50 points at home. So I think a little bit of that is a happenstance. A little bit of that is probably too, like, listen, you play the Raiders at home, you get off to a slow start, then you roll offensively. You play the Bills, it's a tough game. The Chargers, a tough defense, although not now with all the injuries. I think there's a lot of factors in there. Okay. Let's see. Stacy says, more likely to get a new deal from KC, Juan Thornhill or Colin Saunders, because I think the Chiefs like Brian Cook quite a bit. I think both could, but Saunders has earned it. He's played great this year. Michael Antonio, how do you rank this team against the other Chiefs squads? By the way, guys, if you're asking questions on Twitter, I'm going to jump to you guys here in a minute, so I've not forgotten about you. I am just there. I'm getting to a lot of questions. How do I rank them against our Chiefs squads? They're better than the 2018 team because they're better defensively. That team was a wreck defensively. I think this team, look, I can't put them ahead of the team that won the Super Bowl because they won the Super Bowl. But that team was not as good through 7 weeks as this team is, because that team defensively was terrible till later in the year, and then it got really good. That, I think, is the hope if you're a Chiefs fan. This defense takes off the way that one did. If they do it, they can win the Super Bowl. They probably would win the Super Bowl. But yeah, I'd probably put them. I'd probably put them behind that team. And the 2020 team, the early part of the year was insane. I'd probably put them with the 2020 team, just because I think this team will be right there with those groups. I think this team's better than last year's team. Last year's team, to me, was on fumes in some ways. And I think there's a reason they changed it up quite a bit. Ryan, do you see the Chiefs adding a pass rusher? Would have loved Burns, but Carolina's front officer more. Look, Carolina's just leaking this stuff, man. They didn't get 2 first-round picks as an offer. If they did that and they turned it down, they should be fired. I think the Chiefs will absolutely try to upgrade the edge. I do not think it will be Burns. Tom says, think we can beat the Bills in the playoffs on the road to their current roster? Yeah, I think it's a coin flip. It was a coin flip that they lost in KC. I think it's a coin flip they can win in Buffalo. Yes. I absolutely do. Do you think we get a new safety like Jesse Bates next year? Jordan asks. No, I think they're already paying enough to Reed, and I think they like Cook. So I don't think so. Which game after the bye worries you the most? Benny, I would say at Cincinnati. I think the Chiefs will win every other game that they play if they play well. If the Bengals game, they have to play really well because I think the Bengals are clearly the toughest team that they have to play. Chandler says, how in trouble are the Chargers after getting wrecked by Seahawks yesterday? They're in trouble. Look, they're not coached well. They've got a million injuries. They can't stop the run. They throw the ball 6 yards for a clip because they're terrified to let Herbert throw the football. The Chargers, to me, are going to fight for the playoffs. And I think that's their ceiling. I really do. Alex is asking, has Mahomes ever done anything wrong in his life? He's truly great on and off the field, even little things like answer the COD question, create the Call of Duty question. Mahomes is about as clean as a whistle as you'll ever find. That's certainly true. All right. Jeremy says, are you fully prepared for Justin Fields versus Mac Jones? No, I am not. I'm going to watch the Devils and the Knicks tonight because I refuse to sit there and watch the Bears again. I can't do it. Fansided couldn't pay me enough. All right. Let me get some of the questions here on Twitter. Hunter's asking, better need right now. I think it would have to be corner or edge. It's got to be edge. I think they're actually deep at corner now with McDuffie and Fenton coming back. It's got to be corner. Who isn't traded at the end of the season? I mean, if you're asking me the deadline, I think, we're talking about pass rushers, right? Quinn, I'd call Washington on Payne. Yannick Ngakoue was a good call earlier here in the chat. So, Richard, I think those are guys you're looking at. Zach's asking, trade targets for the Chiefs at all? What about selling as an add-on? What about player plus pick swaps? Looking at Rojo, Fenton, maybe Hardman. I thought about Fenton, Zach. I just don't think they would deal away from what has become a position of strength. I know Fenton's not been great this year. I get it. He's been very up and down. But as a reserve corner, he's a quality guy to have. I think when you're trying to win a Super Bowl, you're very hesitant to trade off any depth. Even if you need a guy for a couple of weeks, could be the difference. Rojo, I think they trade in a heartbeat. Hardman, I don't think they trust Moore enough yet. I don't, but it's not a bad question. I get it. I just don't think they trust him enough yet. All right. Are the Chiefs standing pat at the deadline? Asks X. I don't think they will. I think they will make a move. I think they will make it. They have too many draft picks, and Brett Veach is too aggressive. Justin says, why start Pacheco? Actually, you asked that question as well in the chat. I already got you. So that's good. All right, we covered that. You didn't have to wait too long. Andrew says, do you know if Casey has inquired about OBJ? He seems like a natural fit in the system. I can tell you per source that the Chiefs are interested in Odell Beckham. I can tell you that. They have been keeping tabs on the situation. After what you saw against San Francisco, is a push for OBJ or another edge still a necessity? I don't like. Could they win the Super Bowl either way? Yeah, I think the Chiefs could stand pat and win the Super Bowl, but I think edge is number one, and then I think OBJ would be just a great pickup for them. I mean, you imagine this offense with Kelsey, OBJ, and then MVS and Juju and Hardman. Like Hardman's your fifth guy. Good luck. With the Matt Ryan news today, Keanu's asking, should there be a federal investigation launched into how the fuck the Chiefs blew that one? Yes. Keanu, I've been trying to pass that legislation for a month. There should be a 30 for 30 to how the Chiefs lost that game. Jokes aside, how likely is it we catch the Bills for the 1 seed? Not sure how much it matters. That rematch is going to be a dogfight no matter what, but 5 straight AFC championship games in Arrowhead would be insanely cool. I don't think the Chiefs are going to catch them. I will tell you this, though. You know, I remember doing this as a random stat actually in my column. I just stumbled on it. The Chiefs are the first team in AFC history to ever host 3 straight conference title games. The only other team to ever do it in either conference were the Eagles when Reed was their coach. Then they did it 4 times. That's the first time any team's ever done it in NFL history, hosting 4 conference title games in a row. And unbelievably, the Chiefs had never hosted an AFC championship game at Arrowhead, or anywhere actually for that matter. They never hosted in Kansas City Municipal Stadium either before this run. And I've hosted 4 of them in a row. I think the game will be in Buffalo this year, but look, it's a long season. The Bills have 11 games left. They could lose a few games. And the Chiefs are through the hard part of the schedule. Like, would I give the Chiefs good odds to go 10-0 the rest of the way? No. Do I think they could do it? I mean, yeah, they could do it. I don't think they will. And I think for them to be the 1 seed, they probably have to go 9-1 or 10-0. It's possible. I mean, I wouldn't put it past this team to do it, but I don't think they will do it. It's just you're asking a ton. All right, let me get back into the questions here. Ryan's asking Cam Jordan. He's making $25 million next year at 33 years old already. I just don't see it. Let's see. Do you think the Chiefs trade for Montez Sweat or Josh Allen? I think, again, you're making calls. You're making all calls. You're making every call you can make to these teams. Any team that's got 2 wins or less, I'm making the call. Hey, what is it going to cost? What would it take? Are you interested in moving this guy? You know, do you have interest in a pick? Do you have interest in a specific player maybe that we're willing to move that we don't use that much? Absolutely. You make every call. But yeah, Montez Sweat, I'd make the call. Sure. Josh Allen over Jacksonville? Sure. I'd make that phone call. Why not? Mac Jones is a 1 season and done guy, and we'll see. He might be. All right. Bill Bond saying, if Frank Clark plays as good as Sunday, no need for an edge. Yes, that's true, but I need to see more consistency out of him before I can go that route. All right. Did you see the report, I asked Luttrell, that Beckham won't be available until mid-December? I did. I'm not surprised. He tore his ACL in February. So, look, I think if you're the Chiefs, you don't care. You want Odell Beckham for the playoffs. Like, you literally want Odell Beckham for playing Buffalo. That's it. Do you even care otherwise? Like, do they need him for any other game? I'm not saying you wouldn't want him in the playoff games, but, like, would you need him? I mean, the Chiefs, look, if the Chiefs play well, they're getting to the AFC Championship game. So I think for the Chiefs, it doesn't really scare you off. You don't care. Jeremy's asking, what would Grady Jarrett be someone you'd inquire about? Signed for 3 years, but could possibly restructure, make it work. I don't know that Atlanta would move him, man. I mean, they would move maybe if he made some ludicrous offer, but he's too important on that team. He's signed for years. And I don't think if you're the Chiefs, you want to tie up long-term cap space in an older D tackle. He's a great player, but I don't think you'd go that right. I think you're looking more rental. Let's see. Why we won't target DK Metcalf? Well, first of all, DK Metcalf's hurt. He got hurt yesterday. Second of all, Seattle's 4-3. I don't think they're going to be shipping off DK Metcalf anytime soon. Plus, they paid him. They gave him a contract extension. He's not going anywhere. Okay. Let's see. Do you think the Chiefs trade Hardman and draft pick for DJ Moore, Chase Claypool? First of all, I wouldn't trade Hardman for Claypool even straight up. Claypool has done next to nothing the last couple of years. DJ Moore is no pun intended, much more interesting. I think they just trade a pick. I don't think they have to attach Hardman. I think they would just trade a pick. Because if you're the Panthers, like, why do you want Hardman? He's expiring after this season. You don't want that. There's no point. You want long-term answers. You want picks. You don't want McCall Hardman. All right, let's see. Ryan saying this. The NFL is so bad this year, Verderame. Outside of 3 or 4 teams, everyone else is mostly trash. I agree, man. Look, if you read my Stack in the Box column, I tweeted out earlier, I literally wrote about the fact that I can't remember a year where more teams are terrible. Because it is just one team after the next that are just brutal. So I'm with you. Kyle, I always appreciate your focus on history, man. Do you think the Chiefs win in 95? Montana stayed one more year. Can't imagine them losing to Harbaugh and O'Donnell. I think the Chiefs would have gotten in the Super Bowl. I don't think they would have beaten Dallas, but I think they would have gotten in the Super Bowl. Yeah, because Steve Bono was a disaster. Everybody always remembers that as like the Lynn Elliott game. As someone who apparently has a lot of self-hate, I sat down and watched that game like 5 years ago on YouTube. Steve Bono was a tire fire in that game. Like, Lynn Elliott wasn't good, but my God, Steve Bono. I mean, he's the reason they lost the game more than anything else. All right. Alex is saying, what do you think we could get from McCall if we do trade him? Not a ton. Mid-round pick, 4th round pick, 5th round pick. It just, I think get a mid-rounder. But I don't think that's worth it to the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs would rather have. You're trying to win the Super Bowl. You're trying to win the Super Bowl. Like, you're not trying to strip pieces off this team. You're trying to add to it. Sometimes guys, they don't need more picks. They have 12 picks. They don't need another 5th round pick. They need the opportunity for McCall Hardman to have a game again yesterday. They don't win that game without McCall Hardman yesterday. Chandler asked, could they trade for Taylor Moton from Carolina and put him at right tackle? Moton's an interesting guy. Now, the Panthers have to eat a little bit of dead cap trading him, which is why I think they'd be hesitant to do it. Plus, he's young. But he's a really good right tackle. And if you're the Chiefs, I would make that call. I don't know that Carolina would do it unless you just bowled him over with an insane offer, but I'd make the phone call. Absolutely. Absolutely. Moton's kind of gone underrated a little bit. Azim asks, is it too much to ask to build a top 10 defense when you have this offense that puts up this kind of points? No, it's not too much to ask. But it's hard because they have a lot of offensive money and, or money tied up in the offense. And look, let's be honest. They have tried to rebuild this defense. I think this defense is clearly better than it was a year ago. But it's got growing pains, and they still need to get better. I'll tell you this, though. If they went to more of a man coverage scheme and they brought more pressure, I think they could be a really good defense this year. I think bringing back McDuffie is going to change a lot of the way they play. I really do. And I think he could be the key. Him and Gay coming back, I think, could really set this defense on a good course. All right. Echoplex. Chiefs have had the best offensive games on the road. Mahomes is undefeated in road division games. It sounds strange. I know he lost to the Colts. But any thoughts on this? Happenstance. Maybe they focus a little bit more on the road. I don't know. But I don't think there's any rhyme or reason to it. I mean, it's not like they've been bad at Arrowhead. They haven't been. They're just a great team. And they happen to be really, really great on the road. But I don't think there's anything to it necessarily. Okay, let me see. Jonathan's asking, hey, Matt, do you think we'll see more Hardman rushes? Chiefs fans want to see him in the Debo role more, and it seemed they were unwilling to do it, but it worked well yesterday. It sure did. I think they should get him on more of those jet sweeps. I felt that way for a long time. He is a very fast guy. He's an elusive runner. They should get the ball in his hands, and that's an easy way to do it. Easy way to do it. By the way, thank you for everybody who's listening and watching right now. Got 50 on Twitter, 252 people here watching live on the Arrowhead Addict podcast channel. Thank you so much. If you could hit the like button, just a quick click of the mouse for a thumbs up. It really helps us to reach people. And of course, subscribe if you haven't already. Really, really appreciate that. And tomorrow, if you don't already subscribe to Stack in the Box, live show at noon, myself, Sterling Holmes, covering the whole league. So make sure you subscribe to that channel. All right. Let's see. SA Flip. What's up, man? Trent McDuffie has not played a single full game in the NFL. Do you feel him coming back mid to late in the season? He'll be the defense's X factor. Yeah, I mean, listen, I said at the beginning, I also see you added. I think he's overhyped. I think he could be a huge factor for them. When he played in the preseason and that first half against Arizona, he was awesome. I get it. It's a really small sample size. He was really good, man. Like mirroring receivers everywhere they went on all different kinds of routes and in zone and in man. If he plays to his potential, that could change things. I could see the Chiefs going to much more of a man scheme instead of these zone defenses. And I think they're built for it. Watson's really good. Snead is really good. Like they could get in these man defenses and just pressure the hell out of teams. I think it would change their entire defense. I think all of a sudden you start seeing these games that are forcing 2-3 turnovers and giving up 13 points. I really do. Like not every game, obviously. I'm not saying they're the best defense in football, but I think they could really step up their game quite a bit. All right. Stacy's asking, who is your front runner for Coach of the Year? Dable, O'Connell, Saleh, or Sirianni? Dable. What he's done with that team is nothing short of a miracle. Daniel's asking, is Brandon Cooks a possibility? What realistic targets are in play given our draft picks and cap room situation? I've given a few names already. Like I said, Robert Quinn again. Montez Sweat's a guy I make a call on. Deron Payne. Josh Allen's been brought up in the chat. Yannick Ngakoue brought up in the chat. Really good call there. I'm making calls on edge rushers. That's where I'm at with this. If I want a receiver, I'll pay OBJ. I don't even care if I overpay him. Who cares? Just get him. But is Cooks a possibility? The Texans have to have somebody for their rookie quarterback to throw to next year. I think the Chiefs have to bowl them over with an offer. I think it's possible, but I think the Chiefs have to bowl them over. Lucas, why are people so focused on trading Hardman? No team wants him, and the Chiefs don't benefit in any way by trading him. I agree with you. I wouldn't trade him. And because they're not going to get anything back for him of any note. It's not worth it. He's more valuable to the Chiefs. Okay, let's see. If you could bring back an ex-Chief to add to our current roster, who would you pick? Derek Thomas. Not even. I don't even have to hesitate. Derek Thomas. Can you imagine this team with freaking Derek Thomas on it? They never lose a game. This is a bend but don't break deal like Reed had in Philly, says Michael Antonio. Keep your opponent out of the end zone most of the time. Yeah, I think there's a lot to that. I think it's a situational defense, right? I mean, you are trying everything you can, if you're the Chiefs, to create a few turnovers. You're trying to play well on third down. You're trying to play well in the red zone. And if you do those things, you don't care about the other team's yardage. You just don't care. I have always said with this team, since Mahomes has been here, if teams kick field goals against you, they might as well punt the ball through the uprights. It just doesn't matter. So all your focus should be on is situational football. Red zone, third down, turnovers, limiting penalties. You do that, you're going to win most of your games. If not flat out, frankly, all of them. All right, let's see. Clip says, man, that Bradbury pickup that you guys were downplaying all of season looks like it would have been perfect. Just LOL. Could have just used the cap we freed up from Kelsey for Bradbury. Hey, man, I all season, when they cut him, all season, after he got, I was the first one to tell you, I thought Bradbury would be a great pickup. So don't throw me in that boat. I'm not surprised. I wrote about it. I wrote an inside piece on the Eagles, an insider story about them this summer. And I wrote about Bradbury and what a nice pickup he was. I think he's been excellent for them. He and Slay, one of the best corner tandems in the league. Ryan says, thanks for what you do, Matt. Love your content. Appreciate it, Ryan. Thanks for coming in and being here. Rock Chalk, as she's saying, great content as well. Hey, thanks, guys. Without you guys, there's no content to make. All right, few more. Let's keep rolling. Christopher says, great talk. Thanks, man. Happy to do it. Keeps me from ever having to work a real job. Oregon says, hey, Matt, I think once Patrick Mahomes and his receivers get in sync, there is no D built to stop this offense. It'll come down to how much they want to get beat by depending on which scheme they use. Yeah, look, if the Chiefs don't outthink themselves and they just play a normal balanced scheme, honest to God, I think they'll score 35 points a game. That offense, when they're balanced, forget it. And that doesn't mean 30 runs, 30 passes. That can mean 40 passes and 20 runs. But just having that threat of a run, being efficient when they run, when they do that, they're devastating. I mean, you saw it yesterday. They didn't run a ton, but they ran enough, and the Niners had to respect it, and they were in 2nd and 5s all the time, and they just killed them. I mean, that honestly, for my money, is the most talented defense in the NFL. I respect the Bills. The Bills are not as talented as the Niners defense. And the Chiefs just lit the Niners up all afternoon. That's how you get it done. All right. A few more. Alex says, what would be the best case scenario in your opinion with Arrowhead add-on renovation? Kaufman moves downtown. Chiefs build a whole new Arrowhead shopping area, hotel, restaurant, stage, etc. Yeah, I mean, if the Royals move, I think the Chiefs just make that a huge complex, essentially. Yeah, I mean, if you're the Chiefs, look, I think because the tailgate is such a huge part of your experience, you have to have a huge parking lot. So moving it downtown, it becomes a little bit harder. I'm also biased. I love where Arrowhead is. I would leave it right where it is. Why not Reed for Coach of the Year? Because they're supposed to be this good. You know, I mean, it's like Belichick those years, right? Like it was hard to make a case when they're supposed to win 13 games every year. It's harder. It's harder. Kyle is asking, let's see here. Did the Chiefs still draft Mahomes if the Chiefs beat the Steelers into the 2016 divisional game? Also, which run these last 4 years did the Chiefs remind you of? 88, 99ers. You know, I don't know. I don't know if they would have drafted him. I think so. I think they kind of knew. I think they knew they had to get better. But that game certainly pushed them over the ledge. Who do they remind me of? Like a previous team in history. That's a good comp. Although that team won 2 Super Bowls, so I got to be fair. The Chiefs didn't. They got the 2 straight though. Yeah, I mean, they do remind me of the '80s Niners in the sense just being devastating and innovative offensively. I could roll with that. I could roll with that comp. Yeah, I mean they're right there. I mean, you know, that's probably a good one. That's probably a good one. Maybe, you know, maybe the Cowboys to some extent, the Niners. Although I think the Cowboys are a little bit of a different team. So yeah, probably the Niners, probably the '80s. If I had to compare them to another team earlier on, probably them. Spags, let's see. Oregon's asking Spags' defenses have been known to get better as the year goes on. If history repeats itself, where do you see them ranked by playoff time? Man, middle of the pack. Middle of the pack. That's what I would go with. All righty. Let's see. Let me see. Why is everybody talking about trading McCall after yesterday's performance? I'm with you. You can't. I mean, you're trying to win a Super Bowl. Like, you're trading parts. You know what? You know what kind of message that was into the locker room? People be like, "What?" You just can't. You can't do that. All right. Let's see. Nick says, "Do you think Pacheco will continue to get more of the load as the season goes on?" I hope so, and I think yes. I think it's just going to be a committee running back situation. All right. Where are the odds? Where are the? All right. I'm going to simplify this because on the money, I don't know. I think there's a typo in here. What are the odds the Chiefs trade for a D before the deadline? Do we really expect Clark to stay consistent? Look, I can't. I just can't buy into he's going to be that consistent. I think the Chiefs will try to trade for an edge rusher. Yes. Okay. SA Flip. Trent McDuffie being a rookie and still in preseason form, and plus he's going through injury. You don't feel he'll get exposed in the game. I feel he'll hit a rookie wall. We don't know. I think his talent is there, and that's what I go off of. I think the talent is there. And I think, look, in some ways, hell, he should be fresh. Hasn't played in 2 months. So, you know, look, it's possible, but I'm confident that he's going to play well. What do you think the Chiefs DBs are? Why aren't they getting INTs? I know we got 2 yesterday, but only 1 in 6 games before that. Is it just the strength of quarterbacks? Yeah, it's not like they've dropped a lot of them. They just haven't had their hands on many. Snead dropped one yesterday. Tough play, but he could have made it. Gay dropped one against Herbert. Yeah, I think those things kind of come in bunches. The Chiefs have had pretty good coverage, so it's not really been that. When they're in man, when they're in zone, they've been a tire fire at times. All right, why was Lamont playing so much yesterday? Was there an injury? I don't know why he was playing. No, there was not an injury. I don't know. I have no idea. I was as mystified by that as you were. Alex says, has there ever been a GM this young to have this much success? I'd have to go through it and really think about that. Off the top of my head, I don't know how old. I have to look at Schneider, see how old he is, but Veach is like 44. So he's had a ton of success. Certainly one of the youngest guys to ever have success like this. And I got to tell you, if you're him, you're sitting there looking at Mahomes and thinking, I'm probably going to be pretty damn successful over the next 12 to 15 years too. Okay. Azim says, can Mahomes win the MVP this year? What does Mahomes have to do to win it? I'll play Josh Allen because I think they're the only 2 guys who are in the conversation right now. And I respect Jalen Hurts in the year he's having, But in the end, like he and Lamar Jackson, they're not going to put up the numbers that those two guys are going to put up. I'll play Allen. All right, Jeremy says, how mind-blowing is it still that one of those 90s teams didn't win the Super Bowl? They absolutely could have won at least two. Yeah, I mean, they're one of the greatest teams of all time. They should have won the first one. That was the one. They weren't as good as those Cowboys teams. And Washington, people underrate that 91 Washington team because they were a one-off. That might be the most dominant one-off team ever. That team won by an average of 17 points a game. And they were in a good division, by the way. Like, it wasn't like they played in some schlep division. They destroyed teams. I think Buffalo could have won one for sure. Should have won one. Didn't work out for him. Ryan's asking, I feel like we always struggle to get a consistent pass rush every year. Do you think it's a scheme or a player issue? I think it's been a combination of both at times. I think it's a combination of both. They've not gotten the right guys at edge. But at the same point, I think sometimes too, the way they play, I wish they do more games up front. And I like when they show sim pressures, it works for them. Okay. All right. Let me just make sure on Twitter I got everything. I think I did. Let me just check. Patrick Mahomes, hilarious. Is there an issue with 24 route running Sky Moore? He seems to have been undercut by the safety in the INT this week. Reed brought that up. Listen, he's a kid, But again, this goes back to like you've got to be able to prove that you should be out there. What defensive player do you think we should trade for? We will trade for, asked Jamarian. If I had to put money on it, I would say Robert Quinn because of the relationship they have with Ryan Poles. That would be my guess. Let's see. Is there anything else I'm missing? Do you know if Casey's inquired? I got that. Okay, got all the questions there. Okay. All right, a few more here, guys, and then we're going to wrap it up. We're almost at the hour. Chiefs guy, how do you like McKinnon showing out on his old teammates? McKinnon was great. Pass protecting. I thought the screen was the play of the game, 3rd and 20. He's an underrated player. He is. He's not a great player, but he's really good at what he does. Still dreaming. What's up, Matt? How do you feel about Sue signing with the Chiefs? Love you guys. Hey, man, thank you so much. I think it'd be a good signing. I don't know how much he's got left, but he played well last year. Like, he still had some juice. And then SA Flip, do you have Patrick Mahomes and Coach Reed's autograph yet? No. As a member of the media, I do not I do not go up to players and coaches and ask them for their autographs. If you notice when I talked about some of the stuff I have memorabilia-wise, it's older players. And if I were to if I decided to go out and get a Patrick Mahomes signed helmet, I would buy it. I would not be going up to the guy at training camp. Hey, man, can you sign this for me? That's a big no-no. That's like a you're fired no-no. So no, I'll tell you what, if I got either one of their autographs, I'd get it from my daughter, who Maisie, she's now becoming a huge football fan. Her dream in life is to meet Patrick Mahomes. Okay. Last question here. Jeremy, where do you rank the 98 Vikings on best teams to ever win the Super Bowl list? High, but I think there were other teams that were better. The 68 Colts, the 07 Pats. Hell, honestly, the 2020 Chiefs are right up there. That team lost one meaningful game all year and rolled in the playoffs. They're probably in the Bills. We just talked about them. The 85 Dolphins. There's the 87 Niners. There's a lot of them. The Vikings are in the top 10. All right, everybody. Hey, listen, thank you so much for joining us today here. Really appreciate it. I will be back on Thursday for my Arrowhead Addict shows. We have 240 people, by the way, watching right now. If you haven't already, give it a like, subscribe. And if you want more of my content, check out the Stack in the Box YouTube page. Over 5,000 subscribers on there and counting. We have player interviews all the time. Just talked to Chase Claypool actually last week. So please go over there and subscribe and check it out. And I will be over there tomorrow at noon Eastern, 11 Central, doing a live show. You'll have this chat going in there again. People can chime in, ask questions, have conversations, all of it and above. All right. Hey, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. And I will chat really soon. Have a great rest of your Monday.